Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Total back to him, takes the first man outside the offensive tackle.
No one shows going right by them and field inside.
If the YN has the linebacker taken out, cuts inside. If YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I'm joined alongside the great Paul Bretl from Packers Wire and Dairyland Express, YouTube extraordinaire, the whole 9 yards. Paul, how's your day been, buddy?
It's been excellent. Rocking the Bucks gear today after the big trade. But no, it's been a great day. I always look forward to our chats, Clayton.
Absolutely. I'm not a basketball fan per se. I was when back in the I'm dating myself now. Back in the 90s, I loved basketball, and football just kind of took over my life. But I seen Twitter explode, so something important happened up there with those Bucks today. So that's awesome. It's always nice to get a little more excitement, in the state of Wisconsin outside of the Packers for sure. Which Jordan Love, man, I tell you, you talk about excitement. We kind of talked about it, over and over, Paul. We were. You were kind of talking about his ability to push the ball down the field and choosing the right times to do that. And, man, we're already off cuff. Let's just roll with it. I am so surprised that he's only threw one interception. I expected it to be a little rockier than that. What do you think, man?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. But it's the decision making, and although the accuracy is still something that has to be ironed out. He doesn't necessarily put the ball in harm's way either, if that makes sense. There's balls that can be placed better, but it's not necessarily, where the defender can make an easy play on it. So just been really impressed with that aspect of it, because obviously you assume with young quarterbacks or inexperienced quarterbacks that ability to take care of the ball is going to be, an issue for him. But, just going back to Sunday's game, watching that unfold, I was just, it was like 2 hours after, and I was driving home from the stadium, and I was still just thinking about what we just saw, because that was just such a gamer moment for him. That was if the Bears game was, we saw how that all unfolded, you're like, all right, the pieces of the puzzle are here. This guy has what it takes to go out and win some games. Now he just has to put it together consistently. What we saw in that fourth quarter was, oh man, he's the dude. He's that guy right now, because it just, his raw numbers, I think he was 7 for 18 in the fourth quarter. Those aren't going to jump off the screen at you. But when a play had to be made, Jordan Love made the play. The Saints did a really good job all game, playing physical, contesting the Packers receivers that created a lot of issues with some of the catches for the Packers receivers. But he put the ball absolutely where it needed to be, where the Saints in some instances didn't even have an opportunity to make a play on the ball. When, he had to pick up yards with his legs, when he had to extend plays, when he had to go off script, it was crunch time. A play had to be made. He did it. That 4th and 1 run from the goal line, that's the Mario Davis he's one-on-one with. That's a Pro Bowl linebacker. Yes. That's one of the best at that position group. And he finds a way into the end zone. The 2-point conversion, and I'm sure many saw Dan Orlovsky's take and breakdown of it, but the initial read's not there. He sprints right, and then all of a sudden just whips his head back left and fires the ball to Toure. It's like he had eyes in the back of his head. I mean, just so many big boy type plays in crucial moments. Just incredibly impressed by what he did in that fourth quarter, and just goes to show the ceiling that he has. We still got to figure out, where the floor is going to be.
Right.
But and the floor, I think, is, we've already seen it's a lot higher than maybe what many anticipated it being. But the ceiling, that was a glimpse into what that could be.
Yeah, no doubt. And man, when I did that was my favorite Chalk Talk episode. I went back and broke down the tape. I narrowed it down to 20 plays and then tried to carve it down to 16 plays. And that fourth quarter, it was just like he came alive. And I feel it feels blasphemous to say it like this, But I feel like we haven't had that in a long time because Aaron was so protective of the football, right? And it was just like, and you've seen it against the 49ers in the NFC Championship, just kind of trying to play within the scheme a little bit and not really go off cuff like a young Aaron Rodgers did. Granted, I'm 40 years old, 41 now. I understand what they mean now when the legs go. I got it now. I completely understand. But to see Jordan, and not only on that big scramble to kind of get him down the field there in the fourth quarter, but the way that when he broke out of the pocket in the left end, the left edge, whatever, from the offense's perspective, kind of slips. It looks like he smacked him in the helmet. Like, I mean, he just played with attitude. It was awesome. The read, the RPR down there, like you said, faking out Davis, and leading up to that game all week long, Paul, we pointed out, got to watch Granderson, right? Got to watch Cam Jordan, got to watch Davis, obviously Lattimore. And everything you just outlined in that little sequence of plays, he beat Davis one-on-one, right? He hit Torrey, who was being covered by Lattimore on that play. It was just like, it wasn't enough for him. It was absolutely awesome. And it felt like going back and watching September 20th, 1992. It really did, man. Just you see a guy who struggled for 3 quarters. And like Steve Mariucci said on the old NFL Films coverage of it, he said he came out in the last 2 drives and just threw 2 of the prettiest balls you ever seen. It was just like instincts took over. So I'm trying not to get too excited, but it's hard not to after a comeback like that. What was the press box like? I need to ask you this. Did they keep the rules intact, or were people going nuts a little bit?
No. Everyone was very professional, low-key up there just watching the game unfold. But incredible to watch live. And I have to say, too, when the announcement early on or before the game, Jordan Love comes out the tunnel, man, I got goosebumps thinking about it right now, because the pop from the crowd when they announced his name, because it's obviously this is year 4 for him. He's gotten a few starts here and there. We're now 3 weeks into the NFL season, and that's his first time being able to run out of the tunnel as the guy. Like, it just, even in waiting the 3 years, and then even in the NFL season, like, it made him wait for as long as possible. So I just thought that was a really, really cool reaction. And, he talked about what that moment meant to him afterwards and said, I've been waiting for that for a long time. So very, very cool. Obviously a rough 3 quarters, but man, just the resiliency. And I know Matt LaFleur used that term, but think of not just in that game, but after what happened in the Atlanta game in the fourth quarter, having to sit on that all week. And then the offense in particular comes out pretty much just dead, and just mistake after mistake after mistake for 3 quarters. And then just being able to flip the switch like that and turn it around like none of that ever happened. Like, Adam Stenavich was asked that this week, like, is that a benefit to youth? You know what I mean? Like, there's no scars, there's no past experiences that said, hey, we're not supposed to be coming back right now. Like, it's just, what's the next play? What's the next play? Keep dropping wood. You know what I mean? And that's what they did. And just incredibly impressive from that team.
Yeah. I don't want to, but we're going to turn the page. I want to stay in this moment forever. I really do. Let's talk a little bit about the Lions game coming up. Now, obviously, we got some injury news that dropped today. Seemed like we got several people that were ruled out. What's your initial takeaway when it comes to the injury updates going into tomorrow night's matchup there against Detroit?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of go through it by position group, since we seem to have a couple doubling up there. And I'm going to start with the offensive tackle. So as we all know, Bakhtiari's out. Zach Tom's questionable. Like, the depth of this offensive tackle position is the strength of this team. But, man, if Zach Tom can't go, it's going to be put to the test. So we know Rasheed Walker is going to be at left tackle. If Tom can't go, Yosh Nijman will be at the right side. And all of a sudden, Caleb Jones, who is a healthy scratch week 1 and week 2, is now your swing tackle. Like, he's your first tackle off the bench. If, hopefully not, but obviously if something were to happen, he's the next guy coming in. So just goes to show where they're potentially going to be at from a depth standpoint. And, they're going against Aiden Hutchinson. He's been one of the best edge rushers for productivity wise in football through 3 games this season. He, was a force last season in week 18, had a big impact on that game. Like, he's a game wrecker. He's a field tilter. He's someone that can take over and destroy drives and make life very difficult for this Packers team. Adam Stenavich mentioned too that they're moving him around a lot more. He switched not just from right to left side, but he's lining up inside as well. So, that Josh Myers, Royce Newman combo on the left side there. If it's an obvious passing situation, look if Hutchinson's going to be standing up inside. It's something that they have done so far this season. So that's going to be such a huge matchup, whether it's Walker and Hutchinson, Nyman versus Hutchinson, or if hopefully Tom plays, but all of a sudden that depth's being put to the test, and it's really going to be put to the test with Aiden Hutchinson across from that Packers offensive line. And the pass protection this season, like, it's been so good so far. The big aspect of that fourth quarter comeback was because Love had time. Going back to that 2-point conversion, Matt LaFleur said, I wasn't a fan of the play call. The execution of it from the get-go was not how we practiced it. But at the end of the day, I had faith in my quarterback, and I had faith in the offensive line to give him the time that he needs to, go off script if needed. And that's exactly what ended up having to happen. So that offensive line and pass protection has been huge, but this is going to be a really tough test for them. And as we all know, quarterbacks need time in the pocket to, survey the field, go through their progressions and all that stuff. One other tangent I'm going to go on here quick. Jordan Love's ability to navigate the pocket, like that internal clock to just feel pressure, it's so good. And that just feels like something that has to come from experience, which obviously doesn't have a ton of in-game in the NFL, but he's so good about that. Just that feeling, it's like a sixth sense for him and knowing where to navigate. And for a young quarterback, it's not his first instinct. Oh, there's pressure here, I got to bail and go. Like, he's just looking to move around. He's still looking to move the ball downfield. So just another really, really impressive aspect about his game. So that's the offensive line. Cornerback position, Valentine and Jair Alexander, both questionable. What we got to watch for here is the practice squad elevations.
Yes.
Because there's only four cornerbacks, I should say, on the 53-man. And if both of those guys are out, Corey Ballantyne and Keandre Thomas are going to be the two elevations. So that's going to tell us right away kind of what the status of those guys are. So keep our eyes out for that. Of course, the Lions at receiver have Amon-Ra St. Brown, plays a lot of his snaps from the slot, but he'll play on the boundary as well. And then their two boundary receivers, they have the ability to stretch the field as well. So keep our eyes on that. And then who else have we got here? Oh, Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, of course. So definitely seems optimistic around that based on the locker room chatter from Wednesday. Romeo Dobbs' words were 3-3 is going to be on the field. Christian Watson said the plan is to play. Of course, Matt LaFleur threw some cold water on that, saying that neither have been cleared yet. But it sounds like it's optimistic that they're going to be out there. And, of course, Aaron Jones, and I won't get too much into the run game because we'll touch on that here in a bit. But incredibly important to this team. Also, his ability to impact the passing game. And the Lions have struggled defending running backs out of the backfield in the passing game this season. Christian Watson, we all know the speed that he brings, but I always circle back to Matt LaFleur's comments. He said it over the summer, and he said it again this week, talking about Watson's intelligence and his ability to go in there and fill whatever roles needed. One receiver needs a break, Watson's in, he'll fill that role, and he'll just bounce around, from inside to outside, attacking all parts of the field. So just having that versatility, that ability, and then that speed on top of it, obviously just brings a new or a different playmaking element to this Packers offense. And there has been some inconsistency at the receiver position. So get him back, along with Dobbs, your most experienced player, obviously, hopefully that helps provide some stability as well. Because if there's a part of this Lions defense that you want to attack, it's going to be the cornerbacks. And again, that's also a compliment to just how good that unit is as a whole. It's not as if they're going up against a bad group of cornerbacks, but that's the part of the defense that you are going to want to be able to attack. And obviously having Watson helps with that.
Yeah, definitely. And, one of the things that kind of stood out to me too is the offense kind of came alive when they had to go up tempo, right? I mean, your backs are against the wall. And immediately I go back to the Play Callers podcast, and I remember the turbo package that Matt LaFleur and Kyle Shanahan installed in Atlanta. And then, of course, when Matt LaFleur or when Kyle Shanahan goes to the San Francisco 49ers, Matt LaFleur goes to the LA Rams. He's the OC for Sean McVay. They broke out the turbo package for Jared Goff there, and they said it really unlocked Jared Goff. He played better like that, And in the back of my mind, I'm going, I just wonder if they might try to go a little up tempo and and do something like that. But kind of leads me into the next question I got for you. Offensively here, Paul, against the Lions, what do you think it's going to take for the Packers offense to succeed against Detroit? Maybe if you want to get into, some X's and O's, maybe some strategic, aspect of the game, that's cool. But what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think, okay, here's what the Packers offense needs to do to pull off this upset win against Detroit?
Starts with the run game. I mean, the Packers have struggled in that capacity, and the Lions have been really, really good against it. The Lions defense is allowing 3.2 yards per rush. The Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson, that team that ran for 200 against Green Bay. Yeah, he was held to 3.3 yards per rush this past Sunday. Like, they did a tremendous job. Adam Stenovich compared the Lions structure of their defense and how they defend the run similarly to what the Packers just went up against with New Orleans. Said the interior defenders are really, really good at using their hands to get off blocks. Linebackers are super aggressive. So Packers are going to have to find a way to have some sort of success in that capacity. And the thing, even if it's not picking up, 4.5, 5 yards per rush, at least sticking to it, which they've done a pretty good job of this season, because even if you're not finding success, you can still do a little bit of the dictating if the defense thinks you're going to run in a situation. You might not be picking up 6-7 yards, but if it's 3rd and 3 and they know that you could be willing to run in that situation, that's at least going to have some sort of effect on them. So going to be really important that they get that going, because if they don't, we've talked about it on here before, all of a sudden you're in 2nd and long, 3rd and longs, and that's a lot of what this offense ran into in that fourth quarter against Atlanta. It was one of the things that made moving the ball for them really difficult. And we just talked about Aiden Hutchinson. You got Aiden Hutchinson in obvious passing situations when he can pin his ears back and just tee off, potentially against, the left side of your interior line, potentially against Yosh Nijman if Zach Tom can't go. Like, that's just, goes without saying, that's not going to be a recipe for success for Jordan Love, for this young offense. So have to find a way to get some sort of, consistency on the ground game, and it's not going to come easy. And that's what I referenced earlier. And as we all know, getting Aaron Jones back will at least help in that capacity, because look at week 1 and not, the Bears defensive front is not the Lions defensive front. Lions defensive front is way better, but it's also not as if the offensive line that week was carving up these huge running lanes for Aaron Jones to take advantage of. Like, the blocking, has not been there for really the entire season, but we saw Jones's ability in the run game to create opportunities for himself. And not just in that game, we've seen that throughout his time here with the Green Bay Packers. So just having that more dynamic element is going to be really, really important. So for me, on the offensive side of the ball, it all starts with the run game and finding some sort of success with it.
Yeah. And when I turn on the tape there with that Detroit Falcons game, they were loading the box like crazy. And, according to PFF, take it with a grain of salt. Their linebackers grade out kind of low, right? And kind of makes me want to think, okay, let's try to stay in 11 personnel. And if they load the box, great. Maybe we break out the RPO game a little bit, but you got to be careful, because when we broke out the RPO game in both games last year, they really sugared Aaron Rodgers to death. I mean, they would show blitz, drop back in the zone, and that's how you end up hitting a defender right in the forehead with the football inside the 5, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a nice little chess match, man. I'm excited to see how all that unfolds, and kudos to Jared Goff, man. He's definitely turned it on. He's proven to be a successful quarterback here in the National Football League. Last year's success that you started to see toward the end of the year has really started to carry over. There's no doubt about that. As far as the Packers defense, Paul, what do you think might be the keys to that? Because when you look at it, to me, Montgomery's banged up with a thigh injury. But even if he plays, he's not grading out well at all. The running game seems to be struggling, if I'm understanding correctly, but the passing game is alive and well, especially with Sam Laporta too. So what do you think will be the keys on defense for the Packers to kind of come out victorious? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, so I've had two things come to mind. One is going to be the Lions run game, because it hasn't been overly efficient, but they stick to it, and that's what they want to do. They're 7th right now in rush attempts per game. Jahmyr Gibbs is averaging 4.6 yards per rush. He's been one of the best this season in yards after contact. And even David Montgomery, he's been really good at breaking tackles.
Gotcha.
So the Lions, they want to run the ball because off of that, they do play action. And Jared Goff off of play action has been really, really good, really, really efficient this season. And that's when this Lions team is taking their shots downfield. So finding success, slowing their run game, and, opposite side of things of what we just talked through with the Packers, if they can slow them up, that's going to put the Lions in more predictable passing situations, allow the Packers' pass rush, which is the strength of that unit, to get after Jared Goff, because that's the other big key to this game. Like, if they're not able to pressure Jared Goff, if he has time in the pocket, he's so good he's accurate. He's able to pick apart defenses when he has time. So slowing the run and also pressuring Goff, getting him off his spot, disrupting, making him move around. Like, that's how you have to slow this Lions passing game. And, we mentioned the big play ability that they have on the outside. Then Amon-Ra St. Brown, in the slot, incredibly efficient. He's targeted most often, 5, 7, 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, get him the ball in space, let him pick up yards after the catch. So, at least we haven't seen otherwise to say that Jair is going to play inside if he's available. So a lot of those responsibilities might end up falling on Keyshawn Nixon. So, from the linebacker position, and Devondre Campbell's out. So it's going to be important that, in the middle of the field, the linebackers are muddying things up, the safeties over the top, providing some help in that capacity, again, just to limit St. Brown's ability with the ball in his hands. So yeah, that was one I missed earlier when we were going through the injuries. Devondre Campbell's going to be out. So obviously a big impact there. We saw on Sunday that Isaiah McDuffie handled a lot of the responsibilities and some more obvious run-in situations. We saw Eric Wilson in the mix there as well. And as far as to get into the weeds a little bit, if you want to talk practice squad elevations, if both of them aren't going to cornerback, something to watch is Christian Welch, who the Packers signed after initial roster cutdowns. He has almost 900 career special team snaps in his career with Baltimore. So he's not, if he's called up, he's not there to be on the defensive side of the ball. But Wilson and McDuffie are core special teams players. And obviously, if now you're expecting them to play all the special team snaps and McDuffie, especially a large portion of the defensive snaps, like that can wear them down. So perhaps Welch could be someone to give Wilson or McDuffie a little reprieve from a special teams standpoint of things. And also without Devondre Campbell, they only do have 3 inside linebackers on the 53. So not exactly a ton of guys there anyways. So just something additional to keep our eyes on. But going back to the Lions offense, again, slowing the run, putting them in obvious passing situations, and they have to find a way to disrupt Jared Goff, because if he has time to sit back there, go through his reads, we've seen it from him. He is a very, very good quarterback when given those opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And really, when you look at their offensive line across the board, outside of Penei Sewell and Ragnow, they're, I don't want to say mediocre, but they're starting caliber when you look at the PFF grades. I mean, the left tackle's grading out 22nd. The left guard Jackson grading out 16th. Obviously, Ragnow 3rd in the entire National Football League amongst centers. Glasgow 20th, and then Penei Sewell 13th. And when you look at the weapons, like you said, Ross St. Brown, obviously we know what we got there. He's grading out as the 14th highest wide receiver in the league. Sam Laporta is the 3rd highest graded tight end. And then Josh Reynolds is one that's really been a pleasant surprise for them, stepping up his overall grade. I think he's grading out 31st in the entire National Football League. So kind of that starting caliber, if you will, grading out at 71.5 right now. Man, this is going to be the biggest test yet. I know we said that, going into Atlanta, we said that, right? And then going into last week, it's like, okay, now this is the biggest test. This is the real test, right? Because this was everybody's darling pick to win the NFC North. Obviously, technically right now the Packers are in first place, but we got a ways to go. And I think it's going to be a hard-hitting game. I think it's going to be a good kind of a launch into I don't want to say a new rivalry. They've been playing, against each other for so long, but it just feels like that rivalry has really been renewed, maybe since the Barry Sanders days, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we know watching this Dan Campbell Lions team, like they play for 60 minutes, like they go hard for the entire game. But going back to what we saw from the Packers on Sunday, again, that youthfulness they got, like they're gonna play hard as well. So it's gonna be a really exciting matchup. And this probably is going to be, I don't have the Packers schedule memorized, but this is going to be one of their, unless there's some surprises down the road, this is going to be one of their more challenging matchups that they have this season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the weather, they're calling for clear, right? It's going to be pretty nice weather. No rain in the forecast. Am I thinking right, Paul?
I haven't looked that far ahead.
Let's see. I think the kickoff forecast is 60 degrees, broken clouds. So should be a nice night for football, man, for sure. Anything
Beautiful.
else you want to add that we might not have covered? Anything first thing that comes to mind, hey, we may be overlooking this when it comes to this game. Do you think we hit on it pretty well?
No, those are my big things. And again, it's not it's football. Games are won and lost in the trenches. But for me, the big thing is the run game on both sides, especially because they're, the weaker points of this Packers team. They haven't been able to get it going on offense. We saw against Atlanta, it's still, it's still a part of that defense that, runs into struggles. And so I think that's where a lot of the success and or failures that they have in this game are going to start for them.
Well, I'll tell you, you never struggle when it comes to covering the Packers, buddy, and we appreciate you more than you know. And guys, make sure you go check him out, guys and gals. You can follow him at Paul_Bretl. Like I said, he writes at Packers Wire and Dairyland Express. Paul, can't thank you enough, man. This was short notice on a short week. I know you've got a busy schedule ahead of you. Going to be a late night tomorrow, right?
Oh, they always are, but wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely, man. Hey, we appreciate you. We appreciate the joy you bring, and it's just so awesome having somebody plugged in that roots for the Packers, and you can just tell you bleed green and gold, man, and we appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you, Clayton. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Have a good night. And again, that was Paul Bretl, the great Paul Bretl. Man, so many nuggets there, Jacob. It went in multiple directions that I didn't expect because that's just how Paul is. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Yeah, man. I always love talking to Paul or listening to Paul. I wish I had a couple questions for him. I wish I would have told him, but
Gotcha. All right, we got John Benson in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. And look at this. Look at this. We got Tim on camera, Jacob.
What's happening, guys?
My man.
what?
Digging the setup, bro.
Can you hear me? Do I sound all right?
Dude, you sound good, man. You kidding me? You got
All
that,
right, cool.
that Barry White voice. We know what's up. So John Benson here with the super chat. He says, "C-Dog, I like it. All right. You the man. Appreciate that too. Musgrave has a great skill set. Is it just me, or do you get scared he will stumble and possibly fumble every time he has a run and catch?" I will tell you this, man. He kind of has that little bit of a Bambi effect out there at the moment, don't he, Jacob? It seems like every time he's running wide open, or what I refer to as butt naked through the trailer park, he loses his footing pretty easy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he seems a little excited, but I think he's gonna get his legs under him. He looks like a baby giraffe, just kind of newborn baby giraffe, just trying to get his legs.
Yeah, no doubt. John, we appreciate the super chat there, buddy. I like Musgrave. It's funny that you mentioned that because when I went back and watched the college tape when they first drafted him, one of the notes I had was he has great body control. Like, there were so many times he would make catches in traffic, and it was like he could absorb the hit. He knew exactly where the defense was. He just had great control. And then he gets to the NFL, and like I said, running open down the field, and he's stumbling. So it's a whole different ball game though when you're out there in front of that pro crowd. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's do this, fellas. Let's hit on again, John. Thank you for the super chat, pal. Let's hit on some of the injury news. Paul kind of hit on it a little bit. Actually, let me hide that. I'm just going to hit on Matt Schneidman's tweet here, and this is pretty much sums up everything you need to know. Paul kind of scattered it throughout his conversation there when talking about the keys to the offense and defense. But from Matt Schneidman, Packers injury report for tomorrow versus the Lions. Already ruled out. Left tackle David Bakhtiari, linebacker Devondre Campbell, left guard Elton Jenkins, and safety Zane Anderson. Questionable Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Jair Alexander, Zach Tom, and Carrington Valentine. I seen a question posed on Twitter. It might have been Ryan that asked this. Jacob, I'm going to fire away at you first. If you could only pick two of those questionable off that questionable list, which two players would you pick, Jacob, to play tomorrow?
Jones and Tom.
Jones and Tom.
Yeah.
I would have to agree with that. I think that would be my picks as well. How do you see that, Tim? Who would be your two that you would pick? I thought that was a fascinating question.
Yeah, I would agree with you guys. I mean, if I wanted to be different, I would say Scoot and Jair, but my gut's telling me we need Zach Tom and Aaron Jones probably the most in this
Yeah,
situation.
and yeah, Detroit has a passing attack, right? And you obviously would want Jair Alexander on the field, but the defense, they kind of held their own last week without him, right? And I think Aaron Jones is just the key that unlocks this offense, man. There's just no two ways about it, for sure. Man, Bach, it's looking at that again. That's tough. I don't know. It kind of feels like, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Not that it's going to surprise anybody, but it's starting to feel like the end might be near for old David Bakhtiari, dude. It sucks, man, because it sounded like he went out there and played in Chicago. You seen the antics he had on the field, having fun, doing the centerfold pose, laying on the field, and then flipping the crowd off. It's like Bach is back, and evidently that thing blimped right up on the flight home. But it's tough, man. And let's hope Rasheed Walker, can fill that space when the time comes. But as far as Aiden Hutchinson, one of the things that Paul Bretl said, Jacob, was they're moving Aiden Hutchinson around a lot more. And I've seen a little bit of it on the tape. It sounds like he might have kind of that Zadarius Smith role, right, where you're going to come up and mug that A gap occasionally. How do you feel about, if Zach Tom can't go? I mean, you're throwing Yash in there, right? And Aiden absolutely abused him last year. It's going to be quick pass game and try to get the run game going as soon as possible, like Paul was saying, right?
Yeah. That's the big what if and the worst case scenario, in my opinion. I actually did watch Paul Bretl. He was with Andy Herman today on Andy Herman's podcast, and he did talk about that kind of in a nutshell, basically saying, can we stop Aiden Hutchinson? I didn't realize this. Aiden Hutchinson is ambidextrous, if you guys knew that, which as a pass rusher, that if you want to move him from side to side, that's pretty crazy. I didn't even know that's a big word, ambidextrous. If it just means basically you have no dominant hand, so you can kind of both hands, which it's cool. My little brother did that when I was growing up. He could write with both hands. He could catch and throw with both hands. And luckily,
that's serial killer stuff, bro.
It is. It's weird. It's just the weirdest kind of thing ever. But in addition to that, Paul mentioned how that basically one of the biggest things is that Detroit, we have to stop the run, they have to stop the run kind of thing. And Aiden Hutchinson is just, he's one of those guys where he's not just a pass rush specialist, like you talked about, that can move him inside, which he doesn't seem like the type of guy that should be able to do that. They talked about him on, I always listen to the PFF podcast, and his biggest knock when he was coming out, they said he had short little T-Rex arms. That was a big knock on him. And now, like, it doesn't seem to matter. And he just does seem like he's one of those freaky kind of guys. So that he definitely worries me. I mean, the depth at that offensive line versus theirs. Again, we talked about that. Tim talked about how I'd like to get Tim's opinion on this going in. We can talk about it later, but I'm worried about Laporta and who's going to be covering him. If Quay is not there, or I'm sorry, if Devondre is not there, does that mean Quay jumps into that? That means we're throwing McDuffie into a whole another can of beans. So I'm, that this whole domino effect from not having, let's say, one of those guys. That's why I say I'd rather have Tom and Jones, just because we've seen what we can do without the wide receivers, and we can kind of suffice. We've seen what we can do with the cornerbacks, but I just think that the middle of that field, meaning in between the tackles and the linebackers versus our running backs and that kind of stuff, that's going to be, I think, where we win or lose the game. I really do.
Yeah. My immediate response is you could do a little bit of bracket coverage on Sam Laporta, kind of like you've seen them do. They did a little bit last week where they did a little cover 3 spinner, and then they mixed in some what we would call cover 1 robber man-to-man, where the safety comes into the box, right? But the thing that I noticed the week before in Atlanta, when they would put Pitts in the slot, they would have Savage kind of bite down and play over the top, and that's what you refer to as bracket coverage. You could tell he was keying in on Pitts, right? And you had someone underneath covering him as well. And it's not that we're putting 2 people on him. It's when they give this certain look, that's when they like to attack the seam. That's when they like to attack with a dig. Then you can kind of slide those guys into position to be a factor there. But Sam Laporta, man, I think this might be the week. Now, here's the other thing too, and Tim, I'd like to get your opinion on this. One of the things that happens when you're scouting and self-scouting, like, okay, you seen what the game plan was in Chicago. We ran a bunch of stunts, right? That's kind of how we contained Justin Fields and made him play quarterback. You go to Atlanta, you've seen minimal stunts, right? And they played it a lot different. Now, last week, we showed a little bit more of an exotic look. We ran a couple fire zone blitzes. We overloaded the right side of the offensive line and kind of approached it that way. All that's on tape now, right? So the Lions are going back, and typically what they do is watch your last 2 head-to-head matchups and your last 4 game saturation. So they've seen these 3 games, right? And they know exactly what the Green Bay Packers have done. It's kind of been a little bit different every week, though. So to sit here and think that the Detroit Lions have an exact beat on how they're going to play Sam Laporta, I don't think that's the case. You know what I mean? I think you can kind of choose any of those different scenarios. But like Paul was saying, it's got to start with stopping the run. And Tim, man, that they don't have their backs aren't performing great right now. Although Paul did point out that Jahmyr Gibbs is averaging like 4.6 yards a carry. Do you commit to the run? Do you play it safe with your normal Fangio style defense with 2 on the shelf? That could be an option as well. The thing that gives me hope, though, Tim, is the last 2 meetings last year, the defense played really well against the Detroit Lions, right? But how do you see all that, man? Everything that I just rambled about with Sam Laporta, how do you see that playing out, or what do you think would be the best approach there?
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, stopping the run is super important, and really, I'm just looking at all my notes here. I'm trying to keep up with you guys. McDuffie, and then we're looking at like Eric Wilson, and I don't even know, like, who else what is our 4th option?
I think if I understand Paul right, we're only carrying 3 right now.
Okay, so does that mean like Lucas Van Ness moves there? Like,
right.
Does that, does Luke Musgrave have to move there? Like, I mean, what do we do? But I will tell you this, it does make me feel a little bit better knowing that, McDuffie's strong suit is the run. If there's a linebacker built for the run, it's Isaiah McDuffie. So I think he can play pretty well against this Detroit Lions offense. But we're going to see. It's going to be a close game, guys. I really think it's going to be tight all the way around. I mean, look at, Paul was talking about Keyshawn, having to deal with St. Brown. That's going to be one to watch, not to get off topic, but I mean, guys, the matchups are key, like you always say, Clayton, and we're going to see that tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think after kind of, pondering it, thinking it through, you're probably going to see Quay on Laporta. You're going to see a lot of wherever Laporta goes, you'll see, you notice Devondre and Quay would always switch, right? I think you're going to see that. Quay, it doesn't get much better than Quay in coverage from a linebacking standpoint. I'm going to try to pull up his PFF here really, really quick. I want to see exactly how
one thing too
comes out there. As far as pass coverage, his coverage grade, Jacob, is 80.7. He's the 3rd highest cover linebacker in the league. Utilize him, but you still gotta play that run. Maybe you do a little sugar. Maybe you load the box, right, and deter them from running, and try to get them to pass a little more than they might want to against a bad run defense, right?
I mean, knowing that ahead of time that Dre's not going to go, as opposed to where we were Sunday, where he just disappears from the game.
Yeah.
So certainly they're prepping the best they can. It's just, it comes down to execution.
Yeah.
That's all it is, man.
And what you were saying, like, who do you put back there, Van Ness or Musgrave? Or the answer is definitely Big Nickel. And
Big Nickel all day, right? I was just going to say, hey, you'd be really proud, Clayton. I got it.
Hey,
everybody, hold your copies up.
Are we saluting?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's awesome. But yeah, Jacob, Big Nickel, man, that we might see a lot of Big Nickel, might see a lot of Jonathan Owens this week, man.
Jonathan Owens. Well, I mean, one thing that to what Tim was talking about there, I haven't realized that Amon-Ra has still been a freak this year. So he's had, out of the last 3 games, He's had at least 70+ yards in the last 2 consecutive. He's had 100+. And I'm thinking, like, if he's lining up in the slot, if we really do expect Keyshawn Nixon to follow him, I'm starting to kind of be a little bit worried about that. So to me, that's a red flag. Looking up right there, like we talked about, the middle of the field, Quay having to cover Laporta while also trying to keep track of Gibbs would be my big deal too. Because like we talked about, normally we have Devondre and Quay. And I love McDuffie. He's one of my guys, one of those late round guys that I fell in love with that, I didn't think was actually going to make the team. Some other real quick stats. The pressure rate for the Lions overall right now is 35% for the year. Last week, guys, they had 7 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. So we're all excited about what we do on that side of the ball. And we should be excited because the Packers have pressured 40% of all quarterback dropbacks this year, which is insane. One thing we should also keep in the back of our minds is that Jordan Love last week, he only had 1 sack taken and he had a 17.8 QBP, which is a quarterback pressure rating. The normal rate for the NFL is 25. So, I mean, Jordan Love looks great evading the rush and learning how to move within that pocket. But with all the stuff, all the smack we've been talking about our offensive line, they still have been way above the normal grade.
Yeah, no doubt. John Benson, thank you for the super chat. He said, "Hey, C-Dog, this for dude turning his camera on. Go, Pat, go. Hey, Tim, turn it off and back on again. Let's see if this trick keeps working, man. Let's go well all night long." Nah,
C-Dog, I like that. That's like Prison Mike, right? That's just
exactly.
the way we talk into Clink, right?
Exactly. Here we go. William King in the chat. He says, "I hope that J Love completes 65% of his passes. And that will make me say he is the next great."
65%.
65%. That's what I can't get over the laugh, bro. It gets me every time. I know y'all are tired of hearing it. I don't care. That guy was so excited.
Come remotely close either.
4 snaps into the season. It's over.
You guys are like 0.65%.
We didn't even get 65% of a quarter.
Right.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. All right, let's see here what else we got in the chat before we move on to the next topic. Because Jacob, you've got a bunch of over-under stuff like that, right? That we were going to kind of hit on. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you want to, we can do that.
I think that would be really cool. I'm going to comb back through here. There was one that I had stored I want to get back to that I thought, I think it was this one, Deadfish, earlier in the chat, said Packers' future opponents currently have a combined 14-28 record. Only 5 games against teams with winning records. Schedule looks pretty kind. I'm telling you, you get through this week and create a little bit of momentum and you go 3-1 somehow, some way in that first quarter of the season. You're sitting in a pretty good spot, and I believe I've actually got it right here in the overlay. Let me find it. I think we got the standings. Nope, I had to delete it because it was too vague. I was going to pull it up real quick though. I want you guys to see kind of how the standings sit right now, and as far as the NFC here, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see it. And it's wild, man, how the NFL is just so close, man. Like it's just year in and year out. Can you guys see this okay? It's probably a little bit small, isn't it?
I definitely can.
All right. So essentially what you've got is the Eagles 3-0, the 49ers 3-0. Okay. They're the only teams without a loss. After that, you've got the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Lions, the Falcons, the Saints, and the Buccaneers. Boy, that crappy NFC South that everybody was making fun of have more 2-1 teams than anybody else across the NFC. But right now the Packers are sitting in first place, and this kind of surprised me. Points forced, right? Points scored, 80 points. Points allowed, 62. They've scored 8 more points than the Lions have already this year and given up 1 point less. So I know a lot of people like to dog the defense, this, that, and the other, but they're actually outperforming the Lions statistically right now. And don't let the Chiefs game get in your way there, okay? It's okay to be happy about that. But to sit here and pretend like we've played as difficult a schedule as the Lions have up to this point is definitely not true. Jacob, what do you got on the over-unders, brother? Well, what are we hitting on?
Real quick before we get to the over-unders, could I pose this question? I got to sit back and actually read. How long have you gotten, or how far have you gotten into that book, Tim? Just curious.
I just cracked it.
Like today? Okay.
Yeah.
So I've had it for a couple of weeks, and I think I'm into like chapter 5 or 6 or whatever. And it's really, really, it's crazy how every time you read a chapter and it's really, I mean, I'm telling you guys, you got to get this book, because it's to the point where every chapter I sit here and I do a podcast and I'm like, oh, that's what the heck Clayton's been talking about. All right. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now. And like the terminology and all that, the schematics and all that. So one thing I thought was super interesting, I got to highlight this and then we can move on to that if you guys are cool with that. Because Paul Bretl, it all kind of bleeds together. I watched the Paul Bretl interview with Andy Herman today, and they talked about basically how you have to stop the run and you have to get the run going, and that Detroit has the 7th most rush attempts in the NFL this year. I thought that was kind of interesting because it started talking about, like, we've talked about how NFL running backs are very, what's the word? Not underappreciated, especially with a contract value, because they get to a certain point. In this book, they pretty much break down, and again, this is from like 8 years ago now, how running backs are, you come in there, you show what you can do within that first, that initial rookie contract. You get basically one shot at getting your big money, and then after that, you get your trickle down money. You get like 1-year contract, 2-year contract, fill in kind of stuff. He also then went on to talk about how in the 2012 season, Rodgers was sacked 51 times, and that the next year, in addition to having to rebolster their offensive line, they ended up drafting Bakhtiari. What they also did is that they drafted Eddie Lacy. Basically, in place of having to replace like 2 or 3 offensive linemen, they just said, let's get Jerome Bettis in the backfield and just allow him to thunder punch through our would-be, breakable offensive line, and that we kind of skip a year or 2 of development with a guy that's so big. So I started thinking, like, is that what they wanted to do with A.J. Dillon? And is that more of an indication that A.J. Dillon hasn't became that back? Not that our offensive line is bad necessarily in the pass blocking avenue, but definitely we need them to be better in the run blocking avenue. So now I'm starting to think, after this year, after that evaluation, if this is the same kind of area we're trying to get to, me and Tim talked about this also, with the fact that it seemed like last week we were running, but nothing was happening. But then we kept trying to do the play action pass. And in my opinion, the play action pass is useless because they know that we're not going to run. And if we are, it's not going to be important. There's a quote in this book that says, and I quote, "The threat of the run is almost as important as the run play itself."
Yep.
To me, that like resonated massively with this team. If they don't even think that we're going to run when we don't have Aaron Jones, and if they even think that we are and they can stop A.J. Dillon for a 2-yard gain, it really gashes all of the rest of the playbook for us. It gashes everything that we try to do with that developmental play action, with the Jets motion, anything that fakes a run. To me, it made my eyes light up and kind of be like, oh my gosh, this is why we need a really impressive run game. I was just wondering what you guys thought about that, and if it makes more sense as to all of a sudden now why we maybe need to decide what we're going to do with Dillon next year, especially with Jones, and if we need to draft another running back ASAP, because now I'm starting to freak out.
Well, there's no need to freak out, because there are great running backs that are drafted late in the draft every single year. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why the market is so down on running backs. And what Pat Kerwin goes on to talk about in Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0, which United Bates was asking that question, and appreciate you, Emilio, for answering for him. It's Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0 by Pat Kerwin. You would not be disappointed. Again, it was the first book I read where I really wanted to dive into the X's and O's, right? And go, okay, what is this game really about when you take your eye off the ball and start focusing on all the things that are going on the field? That's when I got just completely embedded into the X's and O's. And the term chalk talk I actually got from Pat Kerwin. He was the first person I ever hear say that. So it's kind of paying an homage to him. But he talks about how, I think 5 years before that 2012 or whatever year it was, Jacob, that people were saying the running backs are getting phased out of the game. They're getting phased out of the game. And then he points out how, okay, you got LeGarrette Blount for the New England Patriots, and they just won a Super Bowl, right? And he was the main reason that they were able to win that Super Bowl was his playoff run there. You've seen the same thing in Tampa when Tom went down there. What they do, they went and got Leonard Fournette, right? And I think they actually might have signed Blount at some point too. But it's all about that, like I said, establishing the run and the threat of the run. We're kind of in a stalemate though, Tim. Like, with our running game struggling so bad right now, granted it's because Aaron Jones isn't on the field and the O-line is struggling to block. For the first time in my life, I've kind of stepped back and been like, you know what? Maybe we do need to pass to set up the run. And that's why I was trying to nudge Paul a little bit. If you guys heard it in the interview, when I said, Paul, what do you think about going a little nitro package, right? Like they did down in Atlanta, and then obviously Jerry Goff in LA when LaFleur was there. Do a little up tempo, go a little no huddle, get them on their heels a little bit. And he wasn't having it, Tim. He immediately was like, I think the key to this game is establishing the run. I was like, all right, shot it all down. But yeah, what do you think about the running game though, man? It feels like it's so far away right now, man.
It could be both though, right? Couldn't both of those things be true? Like we need to run a little tempo, and we also have to establish a run game. They may be mutually exclusive, is what I'm thinking, because we know Matt LaFleur can scheme guys open. We've seen it over and over again, right? But usually that's receivers in the flat or downfield or underneath. What about scheming the run game a little bit better? Kind of like what you were saying, like let's stop running into a brick wall here and give AJ Dillon, if he's going to be out there, a chance to be successful. But if you've got bad run blocking, you've got bad run blocking, and we've got to find a way around it to move the ball. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I think you try everything until something works. You got to make something stick, because if there's no threat of a run, there's not much else is really going to work, and it's going to I think points are going to come at a premium in this game too. I really do. I don't necessarily think this is going to be 100 points on the board between these two teams or anything. I think this has all the makings of a 28-24, 35-27 type deal at the most. I think this is going to be a grinder. So you got to move the ball on the ground, and screen game. We talked about that yesterday, Clayton. I'm open to it. Kitchen sink game, man. Throw everything but the kitchen sink at them. Just like we're gonna have to do with our defense and with our linebackers. Everyone's got to step up. Everyone's got to play. So I don't know, man. But if we don't have a run game, it's gonna be a long night tomorrow.
Is it weird to you guys? Sorry, because we look at Dillon and I think of how he should look, like your thunder punchers, like your Jerome Bettis's, who I thought was maybe one of the more underrated thunder punchers. Like his footwork was nimble and he knew when to lower it. Mike Allstott knew when to lower the blow. You know what I mean? Marshawn Lynch knew how to lower. With AJ Dillon, it just doesn't seem like his feet underneath him. It doesn't look like he knows when to get kind of level. Like it's just so weird to me. I've never seen a big guy. Even remember like Brandon Jacobs, and I mean these guys knew how to use their body. It seems like AJ just doesn't understand how to throw that big body around. It's just so weird.
Yeah, and for me, it's because how they're using him, what they're asking him to do. And, I pointed out on Chalk Talk, I don't know if you guys got to watch it or not, but the RPR play, it was Patrick Taylor that was in there, right? And I don't know if you guys noticed, but we did kind of bench A.J. Dillon. That happened in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So you go to Patrick Taylor, and on that RPR, Josh Myers completely whiffs. Like I was saying, thank God. I showed Tim actually after we went offline last night, right? Like, thank God Cam Jordan didn't stand straight up, because if he had stood straight up and we had handed that ball to Patrick Taylor, we're probably mourning his death today. Like,
didn't we have a hot mic of him screaming?
Yeah, he said, "Oh my God!" you can hear it.
So that's basically, I think, to Jacob's point. Like maybe that's why Dillon, like you said, with his footwork, right? Like as soon as he's getting the ball, he's probably looking up, going, "Oh crap! Oh crap!"
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening, man. The play where he stumbled on that third or fourth and short, third and short, I believe it was. Me and Mike Wall talked about it. It's like it was the run scheme design. They asked Royce to double the center while the center is playing with kind of a right to left technique. So he had to kind of double, then turn 180 degrees and catch the mic. And AJ seen that. Like they hand the ball off to AJ, and as he gets the ball, he looks up. And like Mike said, everybody's saying, "You're a big guy, just hit him and fall forward." And Mike was like, they're looking for a hole. They're taught to look for a hole. And when you look up and you see a Mike screaming through the hole and your right guard has his thumb up his rear end, like,
right.
I'm sorry. Like, and that's
or
why
is on the ground.
He immediately mid-step tried to chop his feet and reset to try to get a little bit of an angle. And then you could tell he realized, I'm just going to try to submarine this thing and get under them before they hit me to get the first down. hindsight's 2020, but going back and looking at it, I kind of looked at it like it's a pretty smart play by Dillon just to think I've got to get low here and try to get this first down. Let's just key in on that. But yeah, Royce, to no one's surprise, man, he absolutely crapped the bed on that play. Mike was mad, dude. Like when we were talking, Mike, you could tell, and Mike defends offensive linemen, but Mike literally was like, I don't know what people expect AJ to do. Like they're trying to do too much, and it goes hand in hand with what Emilio is saying here. Can we give Dillon a 23 dive with the O-line blocking the man in front of him? Like, let's do that first. Let's try to block the guy in front of you on a running play. Now, the problem, Jacob, like kind of what you were talking about, take your eye off the ball. You have to marry everything up for the play action to be effective. And I'm going to tell you this. I don't mean to be negative, but one of the reasons why this offensive line has such good pass blocking grades year in and year out under LaFleur is because most of the time when they're running play action, they're showing a zone blocking look. So you've got the defense on their heels thinking it's a run. And, I'm sure with PFF, they're looking at the offensive line and go, well, his guy was a non-factor, great grade, +2, right? That's probably what they're doing. When in all honesty, the play action is kind of what got them off tilt there. I don't know, man. It's every week we talk about the game coming up. And in my mind, I'm trying to predict, not to have bragging rights, but I'm trying to go, okay, how is this game going to go? How do I see it go? Every single week, it did not go the way I thought it was going to go. Like, yes, the players that we highlighted were factors. This and like last week, if you had told me, Clayton, the game is going to come down to this, all right, it's going to come down to a read option, and it's going to be a hat on a hat, and it's going to be Jordan Love at the goal line against Mario Davis. I go, we're screwed, and he juked the dude out of his jock. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't figure this thing out. You just can't. It's awesome.
That's what makes football so great, right?
Yeah, it stands. NFL stands for not for long. When you block like Royce Newman, I'm just telling you.
Hello, Newman.
But again, Mike was defending AJ Dillon, but at the same time, he was like, "Look at what they asked Royce to do. It was impossible, right?" So now, Josh Myers on that RPR, that was possible. Okay, he was out here swimming. I don't know what he was doing, man. But anyway, Jacob, hit me with some over under, dude. Let's do this.
All right.
Everybody in the chat, be prepared. Give us your over-under, okay? We're going to read it off. We'll try to stay on one at a time. You tell us over-under. Go, Jacob.
Yeah, and with this, too, I'm going to use you guys to make a bet. So, All right.
It's all on your all shoulders.
I'm just going to say, if I lose my house, I'm going to blame you guys. All right, for Jordan Love, and we're doing prize picks, by the way. And this is as of like 20 minutes ago, so these lines might move just a little bit. But Jordan Love, 232.5 pass yards. All you got to do is pick over, under. Again, Jordan Love, passing yards, 232.5 over or under. At the moment, I currently, looking at what happened last week and how just dog, what it was for the first 3 quarters, and then when he decided to turn it on, I just feel like that this game is going to be a lot more high scoring if we even want to stay in the game. I really hope that we don't get blown out right away. But in my opinion, I'm smashing that over. But that's just me. That's how I feel on this game. What do you think, Tim?
Can I take like right on the nose?
You do. These projections are not,
Yeah, I mean, I my gut would say over, because we're gonna have, we talk about establishing the run, but we know we're gonna have to have the pass game on point. So J Money's gonna be throwing the ball tomorrow night. So I'll take the over.
Yeah. For me, I'm thinking if they shut down Bijan Robinson like they did, right, and they shut down Atlanta's run game, they shut ours down. There's a chance we're going to be playing from behind. And, I mean, you've seen Jordan in the fourth quarter. I don't know what he finished with last week, but if I had to pick one, especially with the chance of Christian Watson and Aaron Jones being healthy, knowing how much Aaron Jones is a factor in the passing game, I think I would have to take the over there. And you mentioned about it being a high-scoring game, Jacob. I just wanted to mention the market says the over-under is 46 points. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Let's see what everybody in the chat is saying here. Emilio, over. United Bates, over. Packer up, over. Steve is real, over. Josh Martin says under. Mike Berry says over. Connor says over. William King, over. Our shadows lagging. Don't know what that means. Our shadows in the bottle tonight. That's all right. Our showers. I'm sorry. Zane Strong over. So we have what, one that was under,
One
and that
under.
was, yeah. So I think it's pretty unanimous. We're going over. So
Going over. Okay. And then this one real quick, we'll get Jordan Love's rushing yards, 16.5, which I believe that he had in just that one run last week. He had that 24-yard long run, if I'm not mistaken. So they're saying that he's going to have 16.5 rush yards. What do you guys think? Over or under?
Jordan Love, 16.5 rush yards. Man, Aiden Hutchinson getting after him, Tim. Going to be scrambling a little bit, right? No David Bakhtiari, possibly no Zach Tom. I mean, they're gonna roll Flea out there to block for him, I guess. I don't know, but I think I'd take the over on that. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Just kind of watch them come out and jump up to a 14-point lead, and we just run the ball down their throat. Jordan passes for 85 yards and we get the dub. But I'm going to go over on that one as well. Tim, what do you think, bro?
I'll take the over. It could happen on one play. We might get another sideline toe tap masterpiece again. So I'll take the over.
I think the over easy, just like you guys said. If I hate to say as to why, because I think he might be running for his life a little bit this last game, especially if Bakhtiari obviously isn't playing. Let's go on to a couple more rapid fire.
Let's rattle these off real quick on that over under rushing. William King says over coming out party for Jay Love. Cheesehead Murph says under. Mike Hebring under. David under. United Bates over. Packer Up says over. Zane Strong over easy. Hey, that's how I like my race too, bro. Boz says OVER. Mike Berry over. Steve is real over. It's a few more unders there. We got Emilio at under. Doug over. Yeah, that's a little bit closer there, but yeah. All right, cool. Go ahead, Jacob.
It's like the overs are definitely predominantly on that. Let's try some Lions. This one here, when I was looking up the PFF, sometimes when you look at that PFF bet, like an analyzer kind of thing, they give you your best bets as to which you have the best edge on. They said that the best bet of this matchup was Amon-Ra St. Brown going under 74.5 receiving yards. So what do you guys think about that? Amon-Ra St. Brown receiving yards over under of 74.5. Again, I did tell you that in the last 3 weeks, he's went over 100 twice, and he's been over at least 70 yards receiving yards in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, for me, I would say under. He was battling a little bit of injury. I think it was either week 1 or week 2. So, you never know when someone's going to aggravate that. Also, with the kind of the feeling I got that, if we are playing from behind, obviously Jordan Love's, I feel good about the over on passing yards, the over on scrambling, and the rushing yards. So if that's the case, maybe Detroit tries to continue to run the ball, which the Packers' run defense is kind of weak. I'm going to go under on that one. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna agree because I want to be positive too. And if St. Brown has a big game, it's not going to be good for us. So I'll take the under on that one for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. Zane Strong says under. Josh Martin under. Mike Hebring way over. All right. Emilio, it should be under, but it will be over. Packer Up. Alexander plays, it's under. Yeah, can we get a caveat here, Jacob? Is that in the betting there? If Jair plays, we can go under.
Sure.
Yeah, over. Yeah. Our Showers agree that Good St. Brown is under. United Bates Heart says under. Brain says over. I can feel that. Yeah, I think he'll be there on the offense. Yeah, I could see that too. Although Josh Reynolds is kind of flashed a little bit on the outside, but
Josh Reynolds and Khalif Freeman have been decent. This one to me, I don't know why. Every now and then I see one of these stat lines and I think, oh, that's such easy money. Boom, bet the house, and then after that, you just understand why people lose a lot of money. Romeo Dobbs over under receiving yards is set at only 40.5.
Yo,
what?
Where's my hammer at? Hammer that thing.
What?
Come on.
Can we get a roadhouse for that?
Yeah,
we need a roadhouse that one.
Good time for one of those.
Roadhouse.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, that one I've got to go over. What are they thinking there, Jacob? How does
Christian Watson coming back? Maybe they got the inside story that he's going to be featured. I don't know.
They got a little inside betting, a little inside information there, like our government
trading.
officials. I'll leave it at that. But
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Jake in the house said over on the last one, but here we go with our boy Dobbs. I'm assuming this is when it started right here. Under. He got 49 last year in Green Bay. Okay. All right. Look at that. Digging into somebody's cheating over there, dead fish. You got the stats pulled up, bro.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Boz says over. X Lifeless says way over. Mike Berry over. Zane Strong over 180 for the day. Over 180 for the day? 180? Let me hit you with one.
Gentlemen, which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
All right. Although I'm all about over 180. Come on, dude. Let's see. Packer up over every day and twice on Thursday. I see what you did there. Over easily. All right. We're not talking eggs there. That was Josh Martin. Emilio over. Steve is real over. Doug, hammer that over. Jake Shavink, got to be assuming Jones Watson return. Yeah, that's what we're thinking too, Jake. You're doing that insider trading too, bro. I see you over there. Mike Hebring, Dobbs under with Watson back. What if Watson comes back and just freaking goes off?
What if he does? He comes back and has one of those 3 touchdown, like just
does a backflip, pulls his hand out for the rest of the game. That'd be my luck, right? I'll be out here like this watching that. All right, let's see here. Or Showers. Dobbs could have the national coming out party and be the unquestioned number one. That's the thing too. Rising tide raises all ships, right? You get Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs out there, Jaden Reed underneath. And one person we're not mentioning is Luke Musgrave, other than we're comparing him to Bambi stumbling down the field, right? That would be something. Do you have an over-under on Luke Musgrave, Jacob? Did you see anything on that?
I do, actually, Clayton. Glad you asked. As well as Don Wicks, if you want to know about that. Right now, they've got Luke, Mr. Musgrave, at 36.5 receiving yards.
Oh, hammer it, dude. Hammer it. It's funny. We're saying hammer it. By this time, Jordan Love should have 523.
I was going to say, it's so easy to be like, over. Tay Wicks is at 17.5.
Oh, it's Tay now? Wait, I thought it was Don.
Well, I'm trying to put some.
You keep changing it, man.
Yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
Donnie Dubs. All right.
Donnie Dubs. I like that.
Donnie what? Donnie Dubs?
Donnie Dubs.
No,
That's nice.
That definitely sounds like somebody who sells roofies behind the gas station, bro.
Jacob's just freestyling nicknames over here. I love it.
No, man. Just spitting them out.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, they're saying way over on it. On Musgrave. Over, under on Tay. Which, by the way, did you guys hear about? Did you guys hear Devontae Adams' comments earlier today?
No. Well, context maybe. Is this the one where he was talking about we don't have time to wait, or is that what we're talking about, or was that the other day?
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. You guys talk amongst yourselves. Say something smart. I got to pull this up because I usually don't overreact on stuff like this. I'm not like Jacob. I don't have my own conspiracy video. Intro, I should say, but this might be a good one to hit on real quick. You guys talk for a second there, Jake. You got any more?
Did you see that at all, Jacob? You know what we're talking about? That he was like at the locker, almost. I think he was in the locker room or something. It was just after the game, and he was clearly frustrated and with what's going on in Vegas right now. I don't know if Clayton's got it pulled up yet or not, but
Adams all upset about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically got coerced to go play with his best friend, and then they kicked his best friend off the team and then said, "Hey,
Tay's a total pro." So I mean, when I say frustrated, I'm just going with my gut. You can kind of see a little frustration in his eyes and in his voice a little bit, but I mean, I don't think he said anything off the wall crazy or inappropriate, but he's clearly not really excited about what's happening though right now.
So I'm seeing the video now. Evidently, there's a new one that dropped. But yeah, basically, he talked about culture. He was just like, we're going to have to change the culture around here. I mean, it was like the way I took it was like, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Tim. And I like your response too, because you're a lot more level headed than me. I'm 120% Irish over here, so I get hot real quick. But to me, it sounded like he was saying like nobody in this organization knows how to win. Like that's the way I took it. It was just like, we have to establish
Clayton, are you unwrapping a now and later to put in your mouth?
No. What we have here, Jacob, is about 6 wrappers where I've already ate. I was over here with Bretl going.
It's gonna be like if you put in an hour later.
The now and later's they've got my heart. I can't believe I can't find that video. I know Kay Adams had it, but golly, it's driving me crazy, man. Because I really wanted to share that, dude.
They clearly do need a culture change there, though. I mean, but then again, like I don't know, the Raiders have kind of had their culture's kind of been the same, these last few decades. I mean, Raider football is Raider football.
Just draft them fast. Don't matter. Yeah. Get them fast.
Just win, baby, right? Well, it's fine when you're winning, but when you're not, and come on, Devontae's, again, we talked about this a few wetes back. He's arguably still the best receiver in the National Football League. I mean, there's
that's why I believe when you watch that, aren't the Raiders the one that for whatever reason they kicked the field goal when they needed, what was it?
Oh yeah, they were ready to fire
McDaniels.
McDaniels.
Yeah.
Well, the fans, that's what fans do, right? We
analytically, wasn't it like the dumbest thing you could have done at that point? Like you needed the points anyways, so you decided to kick the field goal, and then you still had to go back and score the points anyway. So it's like,
and I think they were mad because that would drive. I did catch a little bit of that game. That drive, they had momentum. Like they were hitting. Like Tay had 2 or 3 catches on that drive. Tay
was unstoppable. He caught like 13 balls or whatever like that. It was insane.
Poppy as his quarterback. Yeah, I mean that it's amazing to me. And you could see. I was telling Clayton offline the other day. Adams would have had probably another touchdown and 25, 35 more yards if Garoppolo was throwing in rhythm. There were balls that were low and behind him too, and then every once in a while he'd get a good target. But is that it? We find it. There we go.
See if you guys can hear it here. All right, here we go.
And it's not a personal thing. I mean, it is a personal thing, but it ain't just about me. But I mean, it's not my mentality to sit here and try to take all season to figure it out. You use these early games like this to establish our identity, and we're not doing things the right way to establish a winning culture early in the season. So we got to do something to turn that around.
So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but I took that as the coaching staff's going to have to change something because, it's just not working. Now, immediately, Michael Lombardi came out and gave his, Michael Lombardi doesn't throw things around like this very often either, but he gave his 6 teams that might be a landing spot for Davante Adams. Now, why is that? Why am I keying in on that? Michael Lombardi's son is a coach for the Oakland Raiders, or the Vegas Raiders, I should say. So it's like, why would he throw that out there? You know what I mean? I don't know. Just something to keep an eye on. And again, maybe I should give myself one of these, Jacob. I probably should. You ready? Can't believe I out-conspiracied you tonight, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chat, help me out here. Am I being crazy with this? You guys heard it. Jacob, what's your takeaway? You think I'm overreacting there?
No, I mean, clearly I think what we're seeing is that both Rodgers and Davante left and they're eating humble pie when they walked around. They thought the grass is going to be greener or the AstroTurf or whatever the heck they got over there in Vegas. And they both went over there and they saw, oh my gosh, like these organizations are absolute, what shows. I mean, we've all had that. I think if you've ever left a job, went to a different job, if you've ever left like a team, went to a different team, and you're just like, this is way worse. This isn't a good thing. It's just, I think you understand that all of a sudden you realize that the structure that you were brought up in, maybe the people that were placed around you, all of the facilities you had, the support, the media, you realize like, oh man, this, because in Wisconsin, Green Bay, I'm sorry, but that's the cream of the crop because everybody, it's like, it's the pinnacle. It's not, we're not a big city. We're not a Vegas, a Chicago, a New York. We're in the middle of nowhere, hodunk, and it's a good thing because that means that like we treat that with the respect it deserves. The facilities I know are second to none, all that kind of stuff. I read some stuff about how think it was the Arizona Cardinals, how horrible their like workout conditions are, how horrible a lot of the facilities and a lot of these different organizations are, that like when you get drafted or when you go and if your family comes, they have to like pay for their own food and this kind of stuff. Like there's different little things. I think there was a GM article out there that rates the organization, what their facilities are like, what it is to have your family there, what it is to like provide all sorts of like amenities for them. And the Green Bay ranks consistently in the top 2, like every single year, no matter what. And you got other organizations like these crap ones that you would never think of way down at the bottom. And you realize that people go there and their careers suffer and ultimately maybe even die because they just get burnt out of playing football because it's not fun.
Yeah.
You know?
So check this one out. I just stumbled onto this on Twitter. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I'll read it. Wesley Steinberg tweeted out, an anonymous player for the Jets threw a football at head coach Robert Sala's head in practice earlier today, and a small brawl broke out before players and coaches stepped in. Things were falling apart in New York. And this is my boy Jason Ward. He's an awesome follow on Twitter. Look at this. So for those of you on the pod, it says he's got a couple stick figures, one with the Jets logo crying. Someone's downfall happened, and he put me watching because I prayed for it.
Anonymous player. Well, we know it wasn't Zach Wilson, you know, because that ball wouldn't have been on target.
Oh, hey, zinging with one. I don't even know what we can hear. We go. There it is.
Zach Wilson.
Josh Martin in the super chat here. He says, well, before the season, there were reports that Tay was open to rejoining the Packers. Maybe
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Maybe Tay is starting to speak out to get out. You know, what would it take, man? What would it take? I don't even remember that trade. It feels like it was 10 years ago. What did we get for Devontae Adams? Tim's don't even talk about this. Look at Tim's face. That's why I wanted you on camera, bro. Right there. What was it we got, Jake? If you remember?
I thought it was the second, wasn't it?
Was it just a second? May have been. I think it might have been a swap. Wasn't there a swap of? No, never mind. That was Jess. Anyway, there's so much trading going on here lately. It's crazy. Yeah, as far as his salary
first and second, that's crazy.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was a first and second. So the salary cap ramifications, you know, as we learned with Rodgers, that can be finagled, right? That can be moved around, as the Jets made it work when they had, you know, very little salary cap. So with that being said, though, I don't see it happening. That's not the direction Goody's going in. Now, listen, if he said, I want to play in Green Bay, and the Raiders called Green Bay and said, hey, look, we'll take a 3rd round pick for him, and Tay said, hey, I'll restructure the deal to where it's very affordable. Of course you would, but I just don't see that being the case. I think Tay would want to go to a definite contender. Not that the Packers aren't, but I don't think anybody would put them in that top 5 list right now. But again, it's just something to keep your eye on. I was that kind of took me off guard there for sure. But Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate it. All right. What else we got, Jacob? You got any more over-unders, anything like that, or are we ready to roll here?
I mean, I could, but I think we pretty much exhausted it. We're at the almost an hour 20 mark. So
yeah. And right here, we got in the chat, X Lifeless says, don't need the cap hit and lose all the draft capital. No doubt. I don't know what the draft capital would be, but it's just, like I said, just something that kind of popped up. Look at this right here. What's really, Paul? Paul, you going to tick us off right before this thing's over?
Whoa.
Paul said Devontae Wyatt and Christian Watson for Tay. I'll do that all day.
No, I just said that's what we got in exchange, basically, the picks.
Oh, got you. Yep. Thank you for saving that, Jacob. I was like,
I want to fight. You want to fight?
Yeah. What in the world? I was like, yeah. Come on, dude. All right.
Yeah, we're not gonna undo the trade, right? We're not gonna undo the upgrade.
Yeah, right.
Because really, he's right.
Run it back.
Because really, he's right though. He's right though, right?
That's what the trade was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Came out pretty good, right? I mean, when you really think about it, Devontae Wyatt and Christian Watson for Tay. Now you could, yeah, I guess technically that was the pick. You're right. So good stuff, man. We got the first that was Quay, and the second they traded for Watson, is what someone else says. So run it back to take Dax Hill is what Jake Shavink says. It's always draft season, baby. It is always draft season. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Jacob, what else you got, man? What's your parting thoughts here as we head into the game tomorrow? First of all, you going to be on the post-game show tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Parting thoughts, dude. Parting thoughts. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put you all on the spot. I want a game score prediction. Everybody in the chat, fire yours off too. What is your prediction, Jacob? You go first because you're the Wally veteran here. Tim's the rule.
Mine is going to be 24-17 Packers. It's going to come down to one last possession that the Lions will have, and the Packers are going to make a stop. That's what's going to happen.
All right, 24-17 Packers.
Yep.
All right, Tim, what you got, buddy?
I'm going 31-24 Packers.
31-24 Packers. I like it. So according to that, both of your all's numbers 30, they'd be what, 30, 41. So they would be under the 46 according to Jacob. And Tim is saying they're going to go over it. I'm going to say it's a close one, a real close one. And I'm going to say it's a little bit low scoring. Okay. I'm going to say 21. I'm going to go 21-17 Packers. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the defense is going to show up. They played the Lions offense really well last couple times they played, especially that last one, man. We should have won that game. Should have been in the playoffs too. But let's see what the chat says here real quick. Packer Up says 28-17 Packers. Let's see, 28-17 Packers there. Look at that. 31-28 Packers. Everybody's picking the Packers, of course. So we'll just read the score. 24-21. 42-24. Zane, I hope you are right, my friend.
Yeah.
Emilio, look at that. 31-19 Pack. Defense showing up big time. Josh Martin, 35-14. Ugly game tomorrow night. Paul, that's kind of how I'm feeling too, man. Ugly game tomorrow night, 19-16. Packers squeak one out. That's kind of what it feels like to me too. But all right, cool. Tim, parting thoughts, buddy.
Defense, like I always talk about. I know we've got our issues with injuries, both sides of the ball, but our defense has got to get it done. And I keep looking at the question marks with Jair, and we have to remember even Valentine is a question mark. So look for Ballantyne and Keandre Thomas possibly. I believe Paul Bretl mentioned that earlier. Would be the next guys up, so to speak. So I'm rooting for my defense tomorrow, guys. Go Pack, go! I'll be in the building. 1265. I'll be there.
All right, my man. Where are you sitting at? What roughly? What
section? 111.
111. Nice.
Row 6, row 5, something like that.
On the field?
Yep.
My man gonna be down there in the action, dude. That's
man. Right by the goal line.
Yeah. Jake Shavink in the chat said 23-21 Lions. We do not need that negativity, Jake. If it was anybody else that would have said it, I just got.
He just forgot to put Packers after 23. That's all that was. It's probably just a typo.
Yeah. Look, we got people countering it right here, though. Look at Budnick. Packers 52, Lions 24. My gosh.
Hey, everybody. Look at Thiago. Listen to us from Portugal.
From Portugal, man. Yeah, dude. I need to travel, boys. I need to travel. Tiago, got to ask you a question, then we're getting off here. Hopefully you can answer in time. What is like the number one dish over there, the food, man? What's the go-to Portuguese dinner plate, man? What's on it? And you're probably going to have to explain it.
Brats and sauerkraut, right?
I was thinking cheeseburger.
What?
He's like cheese curds.
Love it. All right, hopefully he can answer it in time. We'll start to wrap up. If you guys see it, let me know.
Thiago.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Tomorrow we may go live a little early. I don't know. It depends on how close the game is. What I would like to see happen, Jacob, with it being a late game. And Tim, if you can hop on, great. If not, man, please don't put yourself out. I know you got family coming in, all that good stuff. But if you want to call in, it's totally cool. What I would like to see happen is the Packers have that thing, couple score lead, and we could go live in the fourth quarter, Jacob. I think that'd be fun. You know what I mean? Like coming down the stretch. As long as you're not adding stress to me, bro, okay? Because I know how you watch games. You'd be over screaming and the whole time. Yeah, I know how you are.
That's how I watch games too now, so it's okay. It's all right, Jacob. We'll be each other's game therapy. It's fine.
Exactly. All right, we got a super chat from Mike Hebring as we get out the door. I'm hoping our boy Tiago can comment in time. Mike Hebring says if 29 gets to 65%, they will. What does that say?
Score 54.
Score 54. Got it. Okay. All of 29 gets to. I ain't doing 65% again, boy. I'm sorry. Ain't gonna happen. You guys out here prostituting me for this 65%. I know what's going on. This ain't my first rodeo. All right, our boy hasn't commented yet. Jacob, if you see it while it's playing, we'll stop.
There it is.
Woo! All right, here we go. He said, "There's a lot, man. Very good fish and meat." I'm not saying that.
Good luck, Clayton. Good luck. Go for it.
Bacala de bros.
Bacala bros.
Cozido de portuguesa. Carne de porco a Tanya.
Bros. This is a family show, pal. Cozido. All right.
Carne de porco.
You don't know how to say it in English. Well, I don't know how to read it in English, bro.
I don't know how to read it.
Welcome to the club. I can't copy and paste that either. That's what sucks. Yeah. Somebody's going to go back and watch this, and I need you to comment on this video. I'll get the notification. I'll see it and describe to us what that is. As a matter of fact, yeah.
I think the posse can translate it for us.
Yeah. Cheesehead Murph at. That's what we need. Our showers. We do need to do a Nashville meetup, man. That'd be fun. Some good barbecue, some real barbecue, not that fake Texas barbecue. What's that?
Is he from? I lived in Nashville for 5 years. Our showers. Where you at?
Hey, Jacob, what do you think about Tennessee barbecue compared to other barbecue? Do you think it's legit?
Yeah.
No, he didn't sell us, did he, Tim? Did you see that?
Yeah, I just saw it. It's kind of a
same look I get from Mandy when I ask her, "Are you still attracted to me?" She goes, "Yeah." Way to go! All right. Our showers. I'm not reading it, but I will share it. Tiago described.
Oh my gosh!
Get out of here! It's off the rails. Okay, appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys were awesome. Let's give a quick little special shout out to all of our super chats. John Benson, thank you, buddy, doubling up there. Josh Martin, Mike Hebring, you guys are the real MVPs. We really appreciate it. Keep in mind, we will update the wheel of names. And we're going to plan on spinning that thing next Sunday. So, guys, all the YouTube members, and if you're listening to this and go, "Hey, man, I'd like to win a free autographed jersey," make sure you're a member of the YouTube member group, the PTA Posse. You can join right here on our homepage on YouTube. So, Tim, so good to see you on camera, buddy. I'm excited about this year having you with us live and in person like that. Jacob, always appreciate your help, man. You are awesome, dude. You've been an awesome right-hand man. There's no doubt about it. So thanks, everybody in the chat. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack, go.
The power sweep actually is the lead play in our offense.
Tell the tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who's inside. Pull back and tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.